Well, hello again, guys, from Newcastle's Seoul training base, where the team are working there just behind me. I'm going to be bringing you some exclusive footage from behind the scenes before I take a little walk around the South Korean capital, answering your questions. See you soon. Well, one question that is coming in a lot is asking me about the conditions out here. Well, we've just been stood having a little chat with Eddie Howe and his coach and stuff there, and as you can see, one of the sprinklers came on. At first we ran, and then we all agreed, actually no, this is quite nice, it's quite refreshing. Yet the heat is intense here through the night. Last night, the night before, the night before that, there's been government warnings pinging on my phone, warning about exercising during the day. Here we are, Newcastle are exercising during the day, but I'm told it will be a lighter session. Doesn't look very light to me. I certainly wouldn't want to be taking part in it, but the players there, they are putting in a hell of a lot of work, with Eddie Howe leading it from the front. Well, guys, that was a couple of days ago, and events with regards Alexander Isak and everything else around this drama of Newcastle United here in the Far East have overtaken that. But still, the video stands. Let's do the Q&A. It's still hot. In fact, it's hotter. And you can hear there the public service announcement warnings everywhere you go, telling you to stay out of the sun. Now, I'm in the sun, and look, what I don't have is an umbrella. Look at these guys here, walking around with umbrellas. Not because it's raining, it's absolutely baking. Now, a few of the comments below the line, the comments have been wonderful, honestly, guys, in terms of inspiration, to see that thanks and that appreciation, that support. It really does mean the world to me, and it inspires me to get back out on these streets and pick up a selfie stick and finish this Q&A, because there's so much to go at. There's my friends, they've popped in. Not sick adders, sick orders. Thank you to the guys from Greece, Australia, America, everyone who got in touch below the line to tell me about them. One viewer said, have you actually seen any? I said, well, no. And then later that day, I saw a dead one on the street, and goodness, I'm glad I've not seen them. They're scary. Anyway, cicadas, correct pronunciation, the heat, the public service announcement warnings, all of it. And one of the consistent comments below the line is, Craig, get yourself a beer. I haven't had a chance really over here. I was working till 5 in the morning last night because of the time difference. So the one aim of this video is absolutely to answer as many questions as possible, and let's have a little bit of a wrap up of Newcastle's time out here. But I'm going to finish it with a beer, hopefully. Wish me luck. Well, guys, a quick change of location and some freestyle camera action, because I'm here at Gyeongbokgung Palace in northern Seoul. Yeah, northern Seoul, that sounds like a good night out at world headquarters of Newcastle once upon a time, but it's not. I'm here in South Korea, and one of the questions that is coming into me a lot is, what do I think of the midfield? Well, I've spent the best part of 3 years talking about it, haven't I? As Eddie Howe enjoys reminding me. But I'll be honest, guys, I think it's light. I really do. When you look at the makeup of it, they've got 5 midfielders in there at the moment. There was the injury scare to Joe Willock this week. Quick little insert here, guys. Joe Willock is going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks with that ankle problem. The good news is that it isn't a damaged Achilles. A recurrence of that injury really would have been so serious and such a setback for the player and the club. But yes, it still speaks to the point I'm currently making. Newcastle are looking at midfielders, and they need to. Louis Miley is a player who I think the world of, and I know those on the inside share that hope and that belief that this is going to be a big breakthrough season for him. But he needs to prove his fitness and, over a period of time, his form. And that leaves you with the first choice 3. Bruno, Tonali and Joe Linton. Now, they are wonderful. In theory, in paper and on grass on several occasions, they have shown themselves to be one of, if not the best, midfield 3 in the Premier League. But I would say that they haven't had enough of those days together as a 3 over the course of a season. And the reason I say it's light is because I've mentioned Willock and Miley there. I've got a little bit to prove in terms of their availability. Well, beyond that, of those 3, you would say are the first choice starters. Joe Linton misses games. I spoke to him down in Singapore, and he looked good, he sounded good, everything was positive. But history has shown us in recent years that Joe Linton will miss matches. Now, the other 2 have proven themselves to be incredibly reliable. Bruno Guimaraes doesn't miss a minute, and I mean this with all due respect, because he is an athlete. Don't believe what you hear on certain radio stations. He does get around, he does run, but I mean this with all due respect. He's not really quick enough for hamstrings and thighs to ping, and that's okay because he does his job and he goes about it brilliantly in his own way. But I don't think Bruno will miss matches. It would only be a break, really, which would put Bruno out, and he tends to get his foot in there before the opponent gets his foot on him. He's an absolute master when it comes to that and protecting himself and winning free kicks. Tonali has a tremendous engine on him and seems incredibly robust, so that's 2. But guys, if one of those 2 went down, wow, you really would be looking at a key component of the system and how Newcastle work is being massively light and massively short I'm concerned about the midfield. I think it's a danger, I really do. I said to you before, I'd come across one of my, there they go, right on cue, the cicadas. I'd come across one of them on the street. I've just done the same again. I'm going to risk picking them up. I assume post-mortem they are harmless, but here they are. Oh. Ah. There you go. Oh, get me that beer, quick. One question I've been asked is, what's it been like as a journalist being out here and being around Newcastle and being in the camp? I've got to say this, it's been excellent. It's been very good, and I don't think coming out here before I came to the Far East, I would be giving this answer now. Now, why do I say that? I say that because Arsenal are here, Tottenham are here, and we received the itineraries of what they had planned for us media-wise, and it was extensive. It was almost too much. Brilliant, by the way. Thank them for that. But it was almost like, back off, guys. I say that tongue-in-cheek, of course I do. But then I wasn't really sure what we're going to get from Newcastle. I have to say, and this, I hope this is a real change in approach and a shift in emphasis and importance and the value they place on the media, because we're just a conduit. We're the eyes and ears and the voice of you guys. Really, when they're talking to us and they're explaining things to us, they're talking to you, to the audience, the supporters, by extension of that. So, to that end, it's been fantastic. It really has, and I really do believe I'm coming away from here with a far better understanding of what they think on the other side of the wall. You know, previously, there was a little bit of a divide. You know, there was east and west, or since we're in Korea, north and south. And often when I was writing things, I was looking over that wall. I was hearing bits and pieces from outside of it, some from within, but never really being given the chance to give that perspective and have that understanding on the guys on the other side. Now, out here, we've met on top of the wall. We've sat on top of it, and we've discussed things. So now, when I talk about the stadium, when I talk about the training grounds, when I talk about the training kit sponsor or the training ground sponsor, I've got a far better understanding of the thought process and the mechanics and the situation on that other side, inside the club. And that's important. And do you know what? We're all people. Previously, when there was that little bit of a divide at times, and I think that was detrimental to those at the top of Newcastle. This goes back years and years, by the way. You know, there is that divide. As a journalist, if you don't have that relationship, you are more minded to perhaps be more forthright in terms of your opinion and your coverage. And I'll never shy away from that. I will never not be that journalist. I think you know that by now. I don't give folk an easy ride just because I get on with them and I like them, but it's good to have that understanding. It's good to have that human relationship whereby you do understand where others are coming from and they can give you context from their side of things. So in that regard, this trip, guys, it's been excellent. And what I will say from all of that is there's an awful lot of hard work going on behind the scenes. Newcastle's problem has been that when there is that communication void, you guys, supporters, believe there is nothing happening. Of course, that's not the case. And during this trip, I think I've got a far better handle on the work and the people who are there behind the scenes. Do things need to be better? Yes, absolutely. There needs to be better communication internally. There needs to be better communication externally. People want that to be different on the inside. I hope this trip and having that exposure to myself and other journalists and vice versa, coupled with, you know, some of the pieces I've written have still been fairly hard hitting with regards PIF and their need to get a hold on this situation. There's a couple of guys here from PIF I saw them the other day walking around the hotel there. They are here. I hope that all of this has sent a message back to the very top that, yeah, there is an opportunity here to communicate, to engage, because the work is there. It really is. Now, one thing you're probably shouting at me is, tell us about that training kit sponsor. Well, again, that's something I've got a far better understanding of now. And yes, Newcastle are exploring training kit sponsors. Talks are active with several companies, but it's about getting the deal which is right, at the right market value, not just doing it for the sake of it. Most Premier League clubs, a lot of Premier League clubs don't have training kit sponsor. I think that could change with Newcastle. Training ground sponsor, well, again, most Premier League clubs don't have training ground sponsors, and if they do, it is normally at the outset of a project, a new project. Newcastle need to build that training ground, probably perhaps to get the training ground sponsor. Companies don't see a great deal of value in coming in from nowhere and just putting the name on Newcastle's Benton base. I get that. Where would the exposure be? Probably the only time they would have it is every time us journalists, right, brought to you in association with, whatever, argument's sake, Phoenix Training Ground. We just don't really do that. So I understand that now, and I hope you guys too. Newcastle did well on that front. I really think they're doing. And over the course, I'm not going to give you everything I've been exposed to now, but over the course of the next weeks, months, whatever, when we do talk about the training ground, when we do talk about the stadium, I'll have a better grasp of both sides. My side, their side, your side, what I'm hearing elsewhere. You put it all together and you give a far more rounded view. So, to that end, to finish with this question, yes, it's been brilliant being inside the camp, hotel, training, stood in the middle of the training pitch with Eddie Howe and his coaching staff, chatting to them. But above that was the important point. It was above that, at a hierarchical level, there need to be more engagement, and there has been. So, to that end, it's been a good trip. So I'd say well done Newcastle United on that front. Again, guys, I'm just grabbing these quick little moments as I go, and I'm in one of the neighbourhoods away from the centre at the moment. Now, a question which has come in a lot is what is happening with the CEO? Yeah, this is quite authentic. Hope you're enjoying this. Yeah, the CEO, I'm told the appointment is imminent, and we believe it to be David Hopkinson, the former Real Madrid chief, who will come in. A story we first broke, I think, as long ago as June now, was it? Now here we are, approaching August. He's still not in the building. We've known since last September, October time that Darren Eales was going. So for all of the noise around PSR and the limiting factors and everything else, it doesn't mean you can't make appointments quicker and put those key positions in place, be the sporting director, a CEO. Absolutely, all of that has led to the uncertainty and the turbulent summer. But what I am told from out here is that yes, the CEO appointment especially, well, that is imminent. As for Ross Wilson coming in as sporting director, it's my information that might take a little bit longer, just like it's taken me quite a while to find this steakhouse I'm looking for. Right, where am I going? Let's give it a go. Here we go. Looks promising. Yeah, but it looks promising on the CEO front for Newcastle. It's wires. Looks promising on the CEO front for Newcastle. Ross Wilson, a sporting director, also likely to come in from Nottingham Forest, but I'm told that will be August. Another quick one from here, because it is a very nice historical backdrop there. What do I think of Sung Soo Park, who came on for his Newcastle debut against the K-League All-Stars the other night? I liked them, guys. I'll go further than that. I loved him. He was the most exciting thing about the entire game. When he got on the ball, he had poise, he had purpose, he wanted to take players on. He would have sent the stadium into orbit if that wonderful little run had ended in a goal. Yeah, now it was the conditions to suit. Home crowd, debut, big occasion for him, all the support in the world. What will he be like back in Newcastle on a cold night at Whitley Park, which is probably where he will spend a little bit of his time next season? Well, yeah, that's an entirely different matter. But certainly from what we saw there the other night, this isn't just a marketing tool. It's not just a venture in terms of getting more support from this part in the world. I think they've got a player there. An insert on Park, two guys, I've seen him play again since that last little segment at the Palace there. He came on against Spurs last night. And again, he lit up the place. I like him a lot. I like him even more than I did 3 or 4 days ago. And speaking of those on the inside, I think there's a chance now, in fact, a likelihood, we'll keep him around pre-season. We'll take a closer look at him. And why not? He's been super exciting. There's definitely something to work with. Right, let's cross a road out here in Korea, because like Europe and everywhere else but the UK, you can only go on the green. Here is the green man. Don't miss your slot. They only go on the green man. They don't jaywalk like we do. And you have a nice little countdown clock as well. And you don't have to be Anthony Elanga to make it to the other side. They give you plenty of time. Now, on Anthony Elanga and other players, one question to come in a lot is, who's impressed me on this tour? And I'm only going to pick one player. I'm not going to say X, Y, Z. Yeah, they've all been good. I'm going to go for one name. And this player, it's not a breakout season. He's already had a breakout season, but he's going to have a good season. He is my pick now for Newcastle's player of the season. I'm going to commit to it. Anthony Gordon. I've seen something different in him out here, guys, and that goes back to the conversation I had with him last week when I got a real a real good feel. And again, you go back to that human instinct. You sit opposite someone and you look them in the eyeballs and you determine whether they're genuine or not. Anthony Gordon was genuine this time. I hope he was. I really do believe he was. And his performances out here, what I've seen in training, what I've seen in matches, have backed that up. So my breakout star, wrong word, breakout star, my star for this season, the answer, it's Anthony Gordon, and Newcastle will need that. He's huge for them, as we saw 2 seasons ago. He wasn't bad last year, but he was inconsistent. He had good games, normally reserved for the big ones on the television. That needs to be different. He needs to do it every week. He needs to do it from 1 to 90. Newcastle need him in the likely absence of Isak. So yeah, Anthony Gordon, over to you. Well, I'm going to have to head back across the road because I'm not in the market for a Starbucks. So yeah, join me at the zebra crossing. And another question to come in, how do I think Newcastle will do this season? And again, we've been out here so caught up in the, I am going to jaywalk this time, so join me. So, oh no, we've got the green man. There we go. I thought if one of the locals was going, it must be safe. Right, how do I think Newcastle will do? As I was saying, we've been out here and we've, oh, this is encouraging. Look at this. Later, finish the video first. Good things come to those who wait. Big wave. Brewery, that was. Yeah, how do I think they'll do? Well, yeah, we've almost forgotten there's a football team and a football squad and players and management and a game against Aston Villa a week on Saturday to come. I think they'll be okay. I really do. And why do I think that? Because it's very easy to be distracted by the Alexander Isak situation and the likelihood, or certainly the possibility now, that they do lose a world-class, fantastic striker. But you watch them train and you see Anthony Gordon, you see Sandro Tonali, you see Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Linton, all fit, all in relatively decent form. You see Eddie Howe, you see the coaching staff. One player removed from all of that does not change everything, coupled with the likelihood and the absolute need really for them to bring those players in. And yes, there still are the variables and those unanswered questions as to what strength and what state the squad will be in. But the work is really going on to make that happen. And I was chatting with guys behind the scenes last night, and it could just drop, it could just click in terms of that recruitment, that the dominoes could start to fall, and all of a sudden everyone feels better about themselves. But even without that, don't forget what is already there. That is a team who schooled Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final. Have done the same to Arsenal, Spurs, Manchester United last season. Despite all of and that there was an unsettled dressing room coming out of last summer. There were issues behind the scenes at times. Despite all of that, Eddie might have to deal with it again. They still had the season they did. So that excellence they've got on the inside, and it really is elite from a training ground perspective, that's still there. That's why I think they'll be okay. I would never doubt Eddie Howe. He's been a little bit low out here at times. Of course he has, because all of the noise and all of the focus has been on a player who isn't here. But I would never have anything but 100% faith and trust in Eddie Howe and his staff. And as long as they're here, I think Newcastle will be okay. I really do. Now, what does a good season look like? It's progress in the Champions League. It's progress in the Cups. And it's getting back into the Champions League. I said that before 2 seasons ago. The biggest accelerant you can have for your progress is Champions League year on year. In terms of revenue, in terms of brand, profile, everything else that goes with it. You need to be in the Champions League every season. So above all of that, they've got to get back in that top 4, top 5. And I'm backing them to do it. Now, of course, a lot of the questions that come in are about transfers. There are videos which you can see elsewhere on the channel where I've really gone into great depth about what the latest is on a transfer front. And as of now, Monday morning, Newcastle are still waiting for Benjamin Sesko's decision. Now, the longer that goes on, the more the suspicion is that he is holding out for that offer from Manchester United. But we await updates on that. Right. I hope this doesn't affect my camera equipment. I've just come across this here, which, yeah, let's have a walk through. If the footage grinds to a halt, you'll know why, but I can't miss this opportunity to potentially cool down. Right, let's give it a go. Overrated. Okay, but what happens? One of the questions which I will answer now is, what happens if Newcastle can't get Sesko? Could it then be the Wissa Watkins? Well, last week we knew that Wissa was a target, still expecting progress on that. We knew that Ollie Watkins was being explored to a degree. I don't think, from what I've heard, that those at the very top of Newcastle would sign off on Wissa and Watkins given their age profile. They want a younger one to come in. So to that end, if Wissa doesn't happen, yes, they might go to Watkins. Now, would Eddie Howe and others on the football side of things do Wissa and Watkins as an alternative? I think they probably would, and probably for the reasons I've outlined in my video. I think those two together would buy Newcastle time, be two tremendous, proven Premier League additions. I would be okay with that. I think you guys would be too. But the model, the recruitment model, it's different. It would have to be one of Wissa or Watkins, what I'm hearing, plus a younger player. That's why Benjamin Sesko is being pursued the way he is. There's our old friend from yesterday, the aeroplane. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer, in fact. Right, I'm going to climb over. There's no one here to stop me. And forgiveness is always better than permission. Let's have a closer look. Wow. There you go. Okay, I'll answer that question from up here. So no, I don't think it will be Wissa and Watkins now, from what I've heard. But they do need two. Absolutely, they need two. At the moment, scenario A, well, that's Sesko and Wissa. Who else could they explore for that younger model, that type of profile? Well, Gonzalo Ramos at PSG is another name that's come in to me, but as of now, we don't really know. It's why all roads do still lead to Sesko. They need that decision, and they want it quickly, because if it isn't him, they need to move on. Well, guys, as you can see, I'm absolutely dripping now in that big Wave brewery bar. Sadly, that's too far to walk back to in these temperatures, but there is a 7-Eleven here, and I dare say they've got what I need in their fridges. Let's hope so. Here we go. Bad news, no beer. Do have microwaves. On we go. Finally, guys, I've made it. It's shaded. I've got my cicadas for company, and look at this. Popcorn, beer, a cold glass. I think the bartender recognised the need. That helps. I'll tell you what helps more. Cheers, guys. One final question from Newcastle's Far East tour, and it's a great one. What am I looking forward to most next season? I'm not looking forward to the Champions League most. I'm not looking forward to cup runs or my England coverage or anything. I'm looking forward to one thing. Newcastle versus Liverpool at St James's Park in the first home game of the season. Wow. Just thinking about it now, I'm not going to swear, but that place is going to be an effing bear pit. It's going to be incredible. For everything that's gone on this summer, it doesn't matter which team Alexander Isak plays for. It doesn't. It doesn't really matter if he's on the pitch or not on the pitch. That game is just going to be sensational. From your perspective, from Newcastle's perspective, from Liverpool's perspective, though maybe not as much for them, but the atmosphere and the vitriol and the intensity and the noise and the passion and the colour that awaits inside St James's on that night, I think it'll be a different level to anything we've seen. PSG, Chelsea, the back end of last season was tremendous. This is going to go to another level. It really is. I cannot wait for the whole season to unfold. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. It really is. What's that? Okay, my friend's looking forward to it too. On that note, I'll see you next season. If I won't see you next season, I'll see you before then. There's loads more to come. I'll see you back in the UK. Thank you so much for that support, that appreciation, those comments since I've been out here. It's been wonderful. It really has. So, from me, guys, one last time. Cheers. See you soon.